All right, everybody. Stocks by the numbers. Welcome back. I just wanted to do a quick technical update looking at SoundHound AI, ticker symbol SOUN, listed here on the Nasdaq. Stock closed up 16 cents today, 501, 3.33%, down 1 cent after hours right now. But I just wanted to show that we drew out a while back when we had the initial gap up and then we had the run up to 10 plus. Since then, we drew out the trend lines, and I was speaking about this symmetrical triangle, talking about the potential tightening that can take place and the fact that we may break out. As you see, we're looking at an apex like the end of September, very early October. But the one thing I wanted to point out here is this top trend line, again, going from the absolute tops from March 14, 2024, coming down to those highs right there, July 15, 24, right? Cutting right to the top of the wick and coming down. That was the last time the stock hit this trend line, was mid-July. Now we're mid-September, right? So that was 2 months ago. And since then, the stock, again, tightening, making these higher lows, making these lower highs inside of this triangle. But look at this. We had a big spike up here just yesterday. Stock went up to 515, comes all the way down to close at 485 after having a big bounce. Here, let me zoom in. See? After having a big bounce right off of that 20-day moving average. Now the stock opens here at 506 right here, comes down to 496, basically right at that trend line, and then bounces back up and closes above 5. So this is the first candle to close above this top symmetrical triangle resistance level. So that's why, in my opinion, I actually think it's bullish and it's going to pop up and break out. However, again, technically, we can potentially just have a little flash breakout here, and we may go back up to, like 520, and then we might reject and come back down into this triangle and then break up and out maybe inside of the next week or two. Or we can be breaking up and out now. So obviously it could go either way, but again, the fact that it is now closed above this top line resistance of this symmetrical triangle, that's why I wanted to do the update, because tomorrow, again, we can have a run up to like 520 here, testing this line, and then maybe Monday we might just pop up to 5.5 and jump right up to this fib and start touching these other resistance lines and head up and up back into the 6s and 7s. So that's why I wanted to do the update, because in my opinion, again, the close above that top line resistance, very bullish sign. And we have a market cap here, 1.8 billion. And again, when we're talking about the future potential growth, in my opinion, I still say that this company should be worth fair value, at least a couple of billion. If we look at what they've done recently, and I know we're operating at a loss currently, but the revenue is for the most part consistently increasing. Again, we look at something like Q2, sub 9 million. And then we look last Q2, we're up to 13.5 million. We hit that 17 million mark. Next earnings due out roughly the first week of November. And you can see revenue now jumping up to 23 million. Again, they acquired Amelia, and they are just expanding the business, expanding their footprint. And we did an update, it was the end of August, but a couple of news articles here. We can see SoundHound AI price target maintained $7 by H.C. Wainwright. Again, stock right now at 5. That $7, in my opinion, is pretty conservative. Again, because I understand people make the argument, well, they're making, 10, 20 mil. They said they were going to make, like 80, 90 million or whatever they said. So, 1.8 billion, that's a little overvalued. And again, with all due respect, those are the people that missed the hype, got the story late, and are waiting for a pullback to get in and buy the stock. Because when we bring up something like ASTS, that is still months away from revenue, but the market cap runs up to 7, 8 billion, see, that's okay, right? Because they probably own the shares. But something like SoundHound, oh, no, they're bringing in little revenue, the stock should be lower. So I understand that argument, and I do appreciate the fact that everyone wants to buy the stock lower. I mentioned the potential gap fill down here at the 243. However, since the initial run up here on the news of the Nvidia investment, SoftBank taking 9%, and again, revenue jumping up and beating estimates, that's more weighted right now than the EPS. So that's why, in my opinion, especially keeping markets up here at highs like people love to do. They love to see it. So something like SoundHound, yeah, well, should most likely pop up and out as opposed to breaking down and gap filling, in my opinion. But I still say you guys know how I feel about SoundHound long term. So, I've said it time and time again. And in my opinion, I do really like it for the long term. So if you happen to miss out on it, like we said, we might be ready to break out. If not, you could potentially start piecing your way in here. If you turn around in a week or two and it's back in the triangle, then you can obviously try to add a couple of shares over there. But for the most part, most analysts are bullish. And this was basically the last article we saw. End of August, SoundHound collaborates with MUSC Health to optimize patient appointment management. SoundHound said Wednesday that MUSC Health has deployed Emily, an artificial intelligence agent powered by Amelia Patient Engagement, to optimize its patient appointment management. MUSC Health is a South Carolina-based academic health system. Financial terms weren't disclosed. With the deployment, patients can communicate with Emily to manage their appointments and get answers to non-clinical questions, the voice AI company added. SoundHound acquired AI software firm Amelia earlier this month for $80 million in cash and equity. And again, this is why sometimes you have to look ahead. And like I say, try to see the writing on the wall, try to take a step back, look at the big picture, see where a company can potentially branch out into and grow into over the next 1, 2, 3 years. And I remember many, many months ago, I kept saying, in my opinion, they may potentially branch out into different segments, and I mentioned healthcare specifically. And then we, again, have the Amelia acquisition, and now we're setting up an AI agent here powered by Amelia to help out patient engagement in MUSC, Southern California, Southern Carolina, Southern California. But yeah, nice big update there for SoundHound. And this is what we mean. If the company, again, similar to what we just spoke about with Rolls-Royce, right? If the company keeps signing new clients, if the company keeps expanding, making these new AI agents and, handing them out and working with all of these different customers, and now we're branching into all these different segments, right? We got restaurants, we got automotives, now we got healthcare. That's what I mean. That's why I kept saying, in my opinion, if you look further ahead, this is why I feel this is easily a $20+ stock. And it could potentially, off of the AI booms and steady demand, we may potentially turn around. Again, it might take a while, but you may potentially turn around 5-10 years from now, and it might be like an Nvidia situation where you look back and say, holy cow, if I bought, a couple of thousand shares back here at this price, probably within, the next couple of years, I'd be set. That'd be a massive position. That would be insane growth. I'd probably never sell those shares. They might keep compounding and splitting, right? They might, who knows, if the cash flow goes positive, they might, start paying out a dividend to shareholders. We don't know what's on the horizon. And that's why, again, in my opinion, take a step back, look at the long term, look at the big picture, because regardless of how many kind of one and done big home run trades that people might hit successfully when it comes to options trading, at the end of the day, you and I both know, instead of getting a couple of calls right on some SPY calls or a QQQ play, you would more than likely wish you can go back in a time machine several years ago and just buy every share of whatever, Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, right? Everything that you can get your hands on, because all these years later, it would have compounded and would have been worth so much more than any couple of trades that you could have potentially nailed in the shorter term. So this is why I say, again, in my opinion, work smarter, not harder. And the growth that you see over the longer term, more times than not, outweighs the average options trader returns that they see in the shorter term. But again, to each their own, and like we always say, you have to find a strategy and a pattern that works for you, and once you have success, you try not to stray from that pattern, from that discipline, and you just stay focused doing that. So of course, anyone who's not involved in this, if you're, seeing phenomenal returns flipping options, then obviously just keep doing what you're doing. More power to you, of course. But I'm sure you understand the gist overall of what I'm saying. But the RSI here on the daily has been slowly ticking up. And we're sitting here basically middle of the range here at 56. And you can see how it's basically been holding steady kind of mid-range because we're getting tighter and tighter and tighter inside of this triangle. And again, you can see the last time we had tightening here of the Bollinger Bands, we had a breakdown all the way back here. We were consolidating downward, Bollinger Bands tightened, boom. That's when the news came out with NVIDIA and other institutions taking up positions. That's what pumped the stock higher. And again, we're in this long-term symmetrical triangle. Now we're tightening potentially near the apex in the Bollinger Bands, and a potential break up and out may be imminent. Not guaranteed, but in my eyes, we have a very, very strong chance that the stock should really pop up instead of down. However, again, like we say, we like to look at our moving averages and see these steady increases and these just stable holds of value. And what does that do? That brings our 200-day moving average back here from the initial pop, sub 2.5. Now the 200-day moving average is 4.25, right? So even if we begin to break down and sell off, that may be the bottom, and then we may have a potential bounce from there. And of course, our 50-day at the same time was $2, ran up to, looks like about 5.5, and now is completely flattened out with this tightness in this triangle, and is now sitting at 4.92. So this is why you have a lot of tightening here. You have a lot of key levels all within just like a dollar range of each other, and that's why I think something big may be coming. But it could, of course, break to the downside. Symmetrical triangle is not a bullish indicator. It could go either up or down out of the triangle. Just keep that in mind. But MACD was below. Looks like it just crossed up to the upside here. And this is why, again, we have a lot of indicators kind of pointing that we can continue kind of this up and up trend. We might get back to the sixes here in the immediate short term. Let's look at the weekly. Again, RSI, as you see, basically flat throughout this whole triangle. Now you have the tightening taking place a little bit on the weekly Bollinger Bands. And again, that was back here, and then boom, we had the big spike up. The MACD crossed to the downside and has been steadily dropping, with the stock basically holding flat for about the last 6 months. So this is why I'm saying, again, we may be gearing up to cross and bang, have a big break to the upside. But in my opinion, markets kind of seem unpredictable. And again, the Fed news came out yesterday. We were swinging up and down, and then we ended up dropping. We had some big volatile swings yesterday afternoon, and now you wake up today and it's like, oh yeah, everything's great. We digested the news. Everything's up 500 points and we're hitting highs. So, again, this is why I say, in my opinion, you have to be very careful, because technically anything you buy probably can drop with the rest of the markets. And I remind you again, markets are up roughly 50% just over the last couple of years, currently sitting at new highs. So just be careful out there, stay sharp. That's basically what I'm saying. But let's check the pivot points real quick. I'll let you go. And we can see if we do happen to break up and out, we may hit this resistance level here of about 687, which is why I was saying maybe you can see, high sixes, maybe that 7 level again. If we do happen to break down here, we have a support level here at 4.5, and then you can see the 50-day at 388. What was this low? Out of curiosity, let me see. Low here, 394. Yeah, so that would technically, if it does break down to there, that would technically kind of break the trend. And then next pivot point, 273, kind of right near that gap up of 243. So, I mean, if they want, they really could break the stock down. But I just feel like because it has that connection with NVIDIA, because it's, again, expanding its footprint, going into multiple different sectors now of industry, I just think, in my opinion, it's probably going to be a break up instead of a breakdown. but we can see some higher levels here, 560, 630. So it may just start, running up again, approaching those resistance levels, getting back up above and testing these trend lines, and then maybe running up. But, we have to take it day by day. But SoundHound, again, is one I really like in the long term. And even here in the short term, we may potentially see some action with this close above the trend line. So let's see how the stock reacts tomorrow. And maybe we can do another follow-up update perhaps tomorrow afternoon, or maybe like midday Monday, and we can see how it's reacting, getting above this trend line. But that's pretty much it. I'll end it there. Once again, Stocks by the Numbers, I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, they are very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.